Good morning, fellow Malaysians. This is Matthias Chang from Future Fast Forward once again. Today, I'd like to share with you my research, my understanding of the geopolitical developments taking place around the world, especially in the Middle East. Following the alleged attack, what I call a false flag bombing of the Saudi Arabian oil fields, resulting in 50% or more decline in the capability of Saudi Arabia to produce and export crude oil to the rest of the world. Almost 50% production has been slashed. And a lot of confusion as to why this is happening. Now, in order to bring you up to speed to the present day, let me share with you a horrifying news which very few of you may know about it, but which I have been speaking and writing since way back 2000, way back. In my 3 books, my trilogy Future Fast Forward, I've elaborated this sinister plan of which, sad to say, the Sunni Islamic countries of the world, led by absolute monarch or military dictators, were hand in glove to this debacle, without knowing that ultimately they will be the victim of this debacle. Alright? Very important. Now let me bring you back to an interview by the then retired General Wesley Clark, who was at one time the Supreme Commander of the NATO forces in Europe. I repeat, General Wesley Clark, the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. This is what he said, right? About after his retirement, he went back to USA, to the Pentagon, to see his boss, alright, Secretary Rumsfeld, and the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Wahhabism. I'll quickly read to you, and then you will realize, right, why what's happening now is actually the fulfillment, the happening of a plan way back before. You see now being implemented stage by stage, leading to the ultimate destruction of Saudi Arabia. Let me read to you. This was an interview by Wesley Clark with Amy Goodman, all right, of Democracy Now, democracy.org, okay? This is what he says, right? After 10 days of 9/11, I went to the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs to say hello to some of the people of the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in and he said, "Sir, you got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We have made the decision. We're going in to war with Iraq." 11 days after 9/11. This was on about the 20th of September. All right? 9/11 was 9th September, the attack on Twin Towers. I said, "We are going to war with Iraq? Why?" The general replied, "I don't know. I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. And he said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists. But we've got a good military and we can take down governments." He said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has looked like a nail." So this interview in Pentagon was between a general, his former subordinate, and Wesley Clark. Telling Wesley Clark, just few days after that, we're going to war with Iraq, okay? Not Afghanistan, that was later. Detour. But there was already plan to go to war in Iraq.
September 11 was an excuse, a Pearl Harbor. They call it a new Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was the excuse for Roosevelt to launch a war in the Pacific region and Japan. So 9/11 was a new Pearl Harbor as a justification by the US or rogue elements, the deep state, to attack a country in the Middle East. Then a few years later, Wesley Clark went back to Pentagon. Again, after the war in Afghanistan started. Okay, the original plan was to go straight to Iraq, but subsequently they changed. Attack Afghanistan first, then Iraq. Now he saw the general again. He says, after the war in Afghanistan has commenced, he asked the general, are we still going to war with Iraq? And that general, the subordinate, says, oh, it's worse than that. It's worse. He reached over his desk. He picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from downstairs. Meaning the Secretary of Defense office today. He said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take down 7 countries in 5 years. Starting with Iraq, and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said, is it classified? He said, yes, sir. But don't show it to me. It's classified, right? So when it's classified, don't show it to me. And that was that. And then a year later, he went back again to Pentagon. He saw the general and says, you remember what we discussed earlier? The general says, sir, I don't know. I didn't show you any memo. I didn't show you anything at all. He panicked. The general told him the story, showed the memo to Wesley Clark. A year later, denied showing to Wesley Clark the memo saying that they're going to wipe out, within 5 years, 7 countries. Okay? Now, this is the background story. So very important. Now you see how way back, this happened. When was 9/11? What year? 2001, isn't it? Right? Then invasion. Okay? Now you see, Iraq was destroyed. Syria is destroyed. Libya has been destroyed. Sudan, Somalia has been bombed. Right? Remember? Black Hawk Down, the film. So, what was left? Iran. And since then, they've been finding every justification to attack Iran. But what I'm telling you today will shock you. Even though that time, the plan was for 7 countries, the US war party, did not disclose the ultimate price, the ultimate destruction was in fact actually Saudi Arabia. Now before we go to Saudi Arabia, let me ask all of you, as a Muslim brother and sisters, all right, you ought to be aware what is going on in the world, all right? You have always said, Muslims always held, Islam is peace, advocate peace, so advocate violence. I agree with that. Islam as a religion is peaceful, but it has been distorted, manipulated by Sunni Arab states and others to turn Islam into a weapon of war. I repeat it. I subscribe and I believe that Islam is peaceful as an ideology, as theology, and as revealed in the Quran and the hadiths of Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him. But subsequently, 19th and 20th century, it has been corrupted, distorted, to become a theology and ideology of war to serve the interests of the absolute monarchs and dictators of the Islamic states in the Middle East. And they have been galvanized and organized and financed as
folders for war in the Middle East for the benefit of the Zionist Anglo-American War Party. Now, before we go any further, how many of you really understand what was before First World War and thereafter? Because the last caliphate, so to speak, or last Muslim empire was the Ottoman Empire. Okay? Now, this is the map of the Ottoman Empire. As of 1878. Now, why I chose this map is because it's before World War I. Those times, there was no country called Saudi Arabia, no country called Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, or Syria. All right? Okay? Or Yemen. See that, right? Okay. Then, recall this covers Egypt, right? The empire covers Egypt, right? And Libya. Then just before, all right, before World War I, the empire shrunk. The Ottoman Empire shrunk, you can see, all right? As compared to the first map, okay? It shrunk. Then, in this map, you see very clearly that the Ottoman Empire is only the red part in the map. You got it? Only the red part in the map. No longer extend to Egypt, Libya, and Sudan. Okay? Now, interestingly, like I said, in 1916, before the First World War ended, when even Britain was on the verge of defeat by the Axis forces, the imperialist agenda that shows how far-sighted they were, even at the jaws of defeat. There was an agreement called the Sykes-Picot Agreement, Sykes-Picot, between the British and the French, that after the war, they were so confident of winning the war, even in 1916, they were at the verge of defeat. They say, we will carve out and divide the entire Ottoman Empire into various states. Part will go to the French control and part to go to the British. Hence, this is a map after the First World War. All right? Saudi Arabia was created, Transjordan was created, Syria was created, Lebanon was created, okay? And what have you. All right? This map is drawn by the French and the British imperialists, okay? Not by Muslims, not by Arabs. All right? They were all under the Turkish Ottoman Empire. After World War I, they became under the colonial protection of the French and the British. And that's very important, all right? Because people don't understand. Saudi Arabia was named after the first king, the tribal chief Saud, all right? And his religious advisor, that's like Wahhabism, okay? It was a British construct, a British creation. So was Jordan, so was Palestine, a British protectorate, what have you. And they drew the borders, dividing Libya and Syria to the French, all right? And Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Palestine to the British, what have you. And they drew the borders. That's why later, after the Second World War, they were so arrogant, more so in the 20th century, they said, right, we created those states, we draw the borders, we have the bloody right, all right, to change the borders and create new states. Okay? Remember what I said? Huh? They say, all these new countries which you know now as part of the Middle East, we, the British, the French, we, the imperial power, we have created them. We drew the lines on the map. And because we drew the lines on the map, we can change them anytime we want. Hence, all the wars in the Middle East. And the arrogance of Pentagon in a memo seen by none other than General Wesley Clark, the former commander, supreme commander of NATO forces, said, my God, they are planning to destroy 7 countries, ending Iran. Okay? So, but they didn't mention Saudi Arabia. There's a reason why. So, before I go further, as a reason why there's such provocation against Iran, let me pose a question to you about Turkey. Recently, there was an attempt to align Turkey, Pakistan, and Malaysia as a new fulcrum for Islam and Muslim. But who is Turkey to today? Turkey is Sunni, a member of NATO, the Western military alliance, the armed wing. NATO is the armed wing of the Zionist Anglo-American global agenda. NATO is the armed wing, the bully boys against any country that threatens the interests of the Zionist Anglo-imperial, American imperial agenda. Okay. You ask the question then, why was not Saudi Arabia a member of NATO? Isn't it? Or the oil, right? The biggest reserve at one time, the biggest, is because Turkey has the most powerful military in the entire region, more powerful than Iraq. But Turkey, unlike the other Arab states, right, after the revolution by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, correct, who overthrew the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, became so-called, right, secular, as opposed to a theocracy. Theocracy means, right, a country ruled by, right, the religious bureaucrats. You follow me? And because of the location of Turkey, very close to Russia, USSR in the north, and on the west, the Eastern European countries, it was a perfect location as an arm, as a fist, the point of the lance, all right, to the Soviet bloc. The instrument of war by the West, and Turkey was a willing partner in NATO. Okay, why not Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia is too far away, all right, too primitive. Bedouins, but they have one very important thing: oil. See, before Britain found or discovered North Sea oil, Britain, through the imperial policy, tried to capture the entire oil in the Middle East. A little digression. Do you know, find out, research Google, what is the origin of BP, British Petroleum? It goes back to their occupation of Iran, Persia. Okay? All the fingerprints, the blood is the hands of the British, American, USA, Zionist, or imperialist powers. Now, you need to ask yourself, right? In America, there are a lot of oil fields, all right? A lot of reserves. Why, think about it, think. Why America at one time did export oil to the rest of the world when there's just huge reserves? Let me tell you this, and it'll shock you. Simple. The cost of production in the Middle East is much cheaper. All right? So as a matter of geopolitical strategy, very long-term view, 100 years view, assuming now you have these reserves, you are Saudi Arabia, you have a lot of reserves, right? And I have also reserves, USA. I'll be bloody stupid, right, to diminish my reserves, right, and allow you to have reserves. Because oil was a powerful economic weapon. Now, by protecting the Arabs, Muslims, Sunni Muslims as the ally and protectorate, Arabs was told, you sell the oil. You sell the oil. We will buy it. But America is buying what? With toilet paper. It prints money to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, Syria, Iraq, whatever. And then those dollars have to be reinvested, okay, in US. Now last time, when the price of oil was hiked up, right, that caused a global crisis, Kissinger and Nixon told the Arabs, right, you gotta sell all your oils in dollars so that there's a demand for our paper toilet money, fiat currency. And also to enable the Zionist Anglo-American agenda to control world trade, okay, control globalization. So, that's what the Arabs did, isn't it? Sold everything in US dollar with one condition. The dollar which we print, like toilet paper, I pay you. That means the Western countries were getting oil for free because they were buying in US dollars. Toilet paper. And then this paper bring back to America. Invest in our industries. Now, fast forward. Most of the Middle East countries are now saying we cannot depend on oil anymore because the reserves are going down. We have to diversify to what? Industrialization. Aramco is going to have an IPO, right? Because Saudi Arabia is now not as rich as before, has to borrow a lot of money and no money to pay. So Aramco is supposed to be offered to the world as an IPO. Alright? That's how bad it is. And if you watch the news clearly, in the last few years, right, under the Trump administration, the trend for US will be soon. The United States of America will be totally independent of any imports of crude oil. In fact, in many ways you can say America now is a net exporter of oil and all related products to the world. Bear that in mind. The trend is for USA to be independent. And they have a lot of reserves. Untouched. But now, they have the means, as a result of new technology, to exploit it, oil and gas, alright, the shale, whatever. So you see now, America no need Middle East anymore. No need Middle East anymore. But they have to fulfill the agenda to destroy completely the Muslim Sunni states. And before they can go after Saudi Arabia, they try to destroy Iran. But Iran is too tough, right, for them to destroy. Though they tried to many provocations, right, to ambush and trap and use Donald Trump as a fall guy for wars. Obama, the first Muslim, was a patsy. He was asked to invade Syria. He did. He was asked to destroy Libya. He did. But with the election of Trump, whose manifesto was no more wars in the Middle East, withdraw the troops, the entire war party was annoyed with Trump. It came up with huge propaganda, all kind of propaganda, to attack Trump. He's an idiot, a buffoon, right? Why? No war means no profits. War profits for the military, industrial, financial state. Understand? Simple as that. And each time, okay, you have to, I can't explain to you today, but there are a lot of layers in the onion which you have to peel. Alright? They try to provoke Trump to get into the war in the Middle East. First in Syria. They give a false excuse that Bashar Assad used chemical weapons against his people and presented with false evidence. The US military launched an air attack only on the area. Later it was found out that the chemicals was used by actually the rebels in Syria, financed by the US, Britain, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. It was a whole false flag. But thank God, Trump did not unleash a full war. Only air attack. So they were not happy. And then recently, a couple of months ago, the rogue elements in the US military sent a spy plane, I mentioned to you, a spy plane, high altitude plane. into the airspace of Iran, together with a drone, okay, side by side. Iran shot down the drone, but not the spy plane. Of course, US denied that they were in international waters or airspace. But if they were in international waters and airspace, how could the Iranians capture the drone and show the whole world this was a drone we shot down? But we did not shoot down the spy plane. It was a message to Trump, President Trump, look, we could shoot two down. If we can shoot the drone down, we can easily shoot a bigger target, the plane. We did not. To send a message to you, we chose not to kill Americans, but we will shoot a drone for our own self-defense. Therefore, to show to America and Trump, we have the capability to fight. Don't attack us. Don't provoke us. That's why Trump pulled back, all right, the attack on Iran, all right, provoked by John Bolton, this war criminal neocons. Rightly so. Why would any country go to war for a drone? A drone, all right, without any pilots, remote control plane. And of course, the war party was very angry. The plot to provoke, to entrap Trump failed. So this time, they want to repeat a devastation, a destruction so big, so enormous, that Trump had no choice but to attack Iran. So, a forced flight operation was designed by John Bolton himself, because he knew he was going to be sacked because of all his provocation in the Middle East. Right? So the Saudi fields were attacked. And straight away, without any evidence, right, the rogue element says, Iran, 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 Iran. And the Democratic candidate for the presidential election 2020, I think it was called, her name is Tulsi Godat or Gobat, right? Said that, right? We as men and women in uniform will not answer to the pin of Donald Trump to go to war. See, you must understand in geopolitics, right? Saudi Arabia seems to be an ally of the US until they are no longer useful. So what Trump did was merely rhetoric. We will send our troops to support Saudi Arabia. At the same time, he says, we're not going to war. He must show by gesture that he still support and so-called ally. But did Saudi Arabia have clear-cut evidence that Iran attacked Saudi Arabia? No, isn't it? But Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states combined together with American help and British attacked Yemen. Okay? They thought a small country, primitive country, Yemen, could be destroyed in a couple of weeks. Just like the Iraq War. It dragged on for 4 years. And most importantly, recently, right, UAE withdrew their forces from Yemen. That left Saudi Arabia alone in Yemen war. It's a war they have lost completely. And they find a way out. They can't. Can you imagine? 90,000 has been killed or wounded in Yemen, a small country. Economy is devastated because Saudi Arabia wants to control the entire area south of Saudi Arabia. Because at the corner is the access from Red Sea, right? So who controls Yemen? Controls all the entire passage from Suez Canal downwards. Okay? That's how strategic is the Arabian Peninsula. Alright? That is why do you think, now understand, this map, the new map of the Middle East, Saudi Arabia does not exist anymore. Alright? You Google it. Okay, you Google it. It's a map drawn by the Pentagon, not me, huh? Okay. Okay, now let me explain to you part of the map, okay? Saudi Arabia will have the Islamic sacred state of Mecca and Medina. We carved out Medina and Mecca will be a separate state. The Islamic sacred state. Jordan will be Greater Jordan. Jordan right now will be called Greater Jordan, encompassing territories of Saudi Arabia. Okay. Then you have the remaining area called Saudi homeland independent countries. Okay. Then you have part of Iran if it was destroyed, and part of Pakistan. If there's a war with India, we'll have south of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and part of Pakistan free Balochistan. And then you have part of Iran, all right, part of Turkey, part of Syria and Iraq, free Kurdistan. Turkey will shrink, Syria will shrink, Iraq will shrink. You have what? Sunni Iraq, Arab Shia state Iraq with Bashar as the headquarters, the capital. Can you see now? So, but the Sunni Wahhabis Arabs think that, right? Because Pentagon says 7 states will be destroyed, they will not be involved anymore. They will remain as Saudi Arabia. How stupid! The British didn't construct you as a state, Saudi Arabia, forever. You'll be useful to them as long as they're useful, and you will be protected. And for all these years, each and every Sunni leader, be it a monarch or dictator, went to war killing fellow Muslims for and on behalf of the Zionist Anglo-Americans. The only country who did not kill any fellow Muslims was Iran. The Iraq-Iran war was an attempt to destroy Iran. And Iraq, Saddam Hussein, was financed by who? Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, armed by the US. And for 8 years, Iraq used gas, chemical weapons against Iran and killed millions. But the Iranian revolution and the people stood firm and was not defeated. As a result of which, Iraq stopped the war because they have no more money. And the Arabs realized that, right? That investment failed. And Saddam Hussein paid the price for failure. Hanged after the country was destroyed. Hung. Allegedly for war crimes. He was not hung for war crimes. He was hanged and murdered because he failed to destroy Iran. He offered to be the tool, the point of the spear, to shove it into the body and heart of a fellow Muslim state. He failed, therefore, he became dispensable. Okay? And towards the last days of his life, he realized he was being a fool. He wanted to sell oil in euro as opposed to US dollar. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Alright? The most powerful Arab state, other than Turkey, Turkey is not Arab, right? It's Turkey, was destroyed. With the connivance, the consent of Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia, all these years, was the closet ally of Israel. Until recently, they said, right, openly, we're allied with Israel. Alright? Again, another provocation. Israel sent jets attack Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq simultaneously, bombing them. Everyone kept quiet. The Sunnis kept quiet. Except Hezbollah. Hezbollah said to Netanyahu and Israel, we will respond accordingly tit for tat and launch missile attacks on the military base of Israel. They didn't declare full war because Israel only bombed certain places. And after retaliating against Israel, Hezbollah says, that's the end of our retaliation. We end here, but if you carry on anymore, we'll affect you back. So Israel was hoping when they attack Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, the 3 countries will come together to launch a war against Israel, and that US will come in and support and fight against all these Arab states. But the Hezbollah, Syria and Iraq didn't fall for the trap. Okay? All these provocations. Because they know, Israel knows, Saudi Arabia knows, they can't fight in any war against Iraq and win. Not possible. The only way they can fight is with American military aid, army, aircraft carrier, what have you. But Trump refused to be baited. Alright? To be baited. Notwithstanding John Bolton's presence in his administration. He realized, Trump realized, this is the end game. This is the end game. This is bad, okay? It's the end game. The future of the Middle East. He doesn't want it. Now, people ask me, Matthias, come on, don't be an asshole. Right? Trump has employed these people, neocons in his party, in his administration. How can he not be responsible? My smart answer is this, right? In every political party, Malaysia, all the world, you have the left-wing faction, the right-wing faction, the autocracies, what have you. Okay? And you need all of them in your party to vote you in power. You have no choice. Okay? That's why you have rubbish in UMNO. Can anybody throw them out? They're still powerful. Alright? They're still powerful. Still supporting Najib. Then you have also other factions who are against Najib. Likewise, in opposition, you have so-called the progressives and the right wing. Right? The bigots. So, those don't look superficially at personalities. Okay? No leader can say, I don't care with this faction. He can't be a leader of the party. If you're not a leader of a party, it could be a worse scenario. If Hillary was in power today, there'll be total war unleashed against Iran, regardless of whether US will win or not. And let me share something with you. There have been war games conducted in America. You always have war games in preparation of war against another country. In each and every war game against Iran, US was defeated. Understand? In your own war games. That shows, right? It's also easy to attack Iran. But with Iraq and other countries, because they're Arabs, dictators, filthy, corrupt leaders, they were weak. So now, you understand? I'm going to say something to you. Will shock you. You may hate me. I don't care. I speak the truth, the ugly truth. You have to accept it sooner or later. Saudi Arabia is the 8th country to be targeted. They mentioned 7 initially. If you are a target of the Zionist Anglo-American war party, you're going to die ultimately. What happened in Saudi Arabia recently is the beginning of the rapid decline of Saudi Arabia as a theological, ideological power, religious power in the Middle East. They've been already declining last 10 years. Alright? But this attack, the destruction of the oil fields, reducing 50% of the oil production, is the beginning of the rapid decline. See, they're declining there. Slowly, yeah? Okay. Oil price went down, is it? The OPEC does not control the price of oil anymore in the world market. Going down. Now it's like, down. A dive down. Rapid decline. With Wahhabism in decline, as usefulness no longer necessary to those powers, the war powers, that each and every country, organization, political parties that depended on Saudi Arabia Wahhabist money will also be in the death throes of death. Guarantee you that. Because it was Saudi Arabia that went out throughout the whole world funding madrasas to perpetuate their Wahhabist concept of Islam. Alright? To infiltrate, to subvert for their agenda. I can tell you, Saudi Arabia is financially crippled, even before this attack. But with this attack, with all the billions of investment in the best weapons from US and Europe, couldn't stop the attack. Can you imagine now? Your oil money, which they earn, Arab states, right? The West, the Zionist Anglo-American says, right, hey, you got so much money lah, oil, no, liquid gold. You better protect yourself, right? Otherwise your enemy will invade you. So they bought all these weapons, right? Thinking they'd be safe and protected. And every few years, all right, America, UK, France says, hey, you Arab Bedouin, you better buy our armaments, no. Otherwise we can't protect you, all right? We can supply you the planes, your parents must fly those planes, and they foolishly believe the Basale, the Western imperialist war party. And these are Islamic states. And supposedly Sunni Islamic states. Iran didn't fall for this kind of crap. Although at one time, under the Shah, Iran tried to be pretty dirty, right? The revolution changed it. So the only state now left standing against all this nonsense is Iran. Be it a Shia. Alright? But they're still Muslim brothers. They are still Muslim brothers. There was no such division during the Prophet's time, isn't it? And peace and blessing be upon him. So right now, whether you like it or not, look at the map of the Middle East. Who has betrayed Islam? Who has betrayed the people? Palestine was a sideshow. Alright? They always say, Allahu Akbar, support Palestine, death to Israel. They did nothing. They did nothing for the Palestinians. But was a useful, right, wayang kulit to divert the people's attention from domestic problems. Because why? They say, look, if there's problems within our country, there is external enemy. Israel. See how they oppress the Palestinians. If you are weak, we will be like Palestinians. So weak, oppressed, occupied. So Palestine was merely an excuse, a show to you to watch, to brainwash the people in Muslim countries. Likewise, in any other part of the world, same thing. So now you see what's happening. So let me ask all Muslims, right? How many have you seen this map? Are you aware of this map? The future of the Ummah is captured in this map. And yet, we start quarreling, hating, dividing, inciting. Nonsense! In the name of God, in the name of Allah. When these people right now in the Middle East are the worst culprits, most treacherous, traitors of Islam, and turn Islam from a religion of peace, distorted, manipulated, corrupted, to give the impression Islam is not peace, it's war. Islam is terrorism. That story, that perception, that propaganda was utilized by the West because of their behavior. The Sunnis, Arabs, killing each other by terrorist method. And then they say, see, these are Muslims. They're killing like terrorists. Now you see how dangerous what is happening to Middle East. And most Muslims now are in this part of the world. Indonesia and Malaysia have more Muslims than any part of the world. And we are now breeding, fermenting, all right, this kind of rubbish. Can't you see what's happening in Middle East? They say we will destroy 7 countries, and they've destroyed 7 countries. And now they finally show the card, the last card in the deck, in their hands, Saudi Arabia. So you want them to come here? You fan fan incitement and destroy the truth, the purity of Islam, because you follow stupid leaders in Middle East. And let me say to those leaders in Pakatan Harapan and in Barisan Nasional, why do you react to this nonsense? Why are you brainwashed to mouth filth and betray the Holy Quran? Don't do that. Learn from the experience, right? By all means, Google that. Just Google General Wesley Clark interview with A.B. Goodman to destroy 7 countries. This is not my words. This is official. You can even see the video of American general, the Supreme Commander of NATO, saying that way back, even before the Iraq started. He was shocked. The general was shocked. He's a general, right? Not a clerk. Huh? Sir, this is a memo. I'm shocked. What? They could attack what? Iraq. Yes, sure. What else? 7 countries. Not that Wesley Clark is a good boy, but the plot, the agenda is so humongous, so terrifying. They were shocked. A year later, the poor general realized he made a mistake by telling Wesley Clark. Therefore, he denied. I didn't show you any memo. I don't know anything about that. But time has shown. Now we are 2019, for heaven's sake. They say they will destroy in 5 years. They took more than 5 years. But they are on time, on schedule to destroy the 7 states. The only country now that's standing for Islam is Iran, a Shia state. Because if they destroy Iran, not that they will, if they finished, Omar is finished. So don't talk about Muslim unity. It's meaningless. It's intellectual masturbation, right? Shock sendiri. When fellow Muslims are destroyed, Muslim states are destroyed, and you talk about all this nonsense in Malaysia and try to regenerate the old caliph. Stop daydreaming and be realistic and pragmatic. Otherwise, the Greek will say, let's go back to Alexander the Great. The Italians, the Romans will say, let's go back to Caesar the Great. Past history. Move on. The world does not wait for numbskulls to live on past glory. Create new success, new achievement, new breakthroughs in every field. Don't harp on that. Oh, last time we have this, last time we have that. We must have this civilization, that civilization. That is living in the past. Learn your mistakes now. Because now you're facing death. Total termination, total destruction. And you want to glorify past civilization? That is the most dishonest, most negative strategy one can invent. A good leader will say, we are facing death. The battle is facing us with the gun. We will find a way to defeat our enemy as the Iranians are doing. So with this, let me tell you, all of you, don't get easy tickled about Trump, and what have you. Okay? None of you, Muslims in this country, and Christians and Buddhists and Hindus, because what happened to the Muslim world will happen to you ultimately. They want to destroy religion, all kinds. Look at America. The filth, pedophilia. Alright? Epstein, Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, all these people involved in pedophilia. Molesting of young children, male and female, understand? Young boys, raped, molested. This is the culture of these bastards. Okay? This is happening. The world is collapsing. And sure enough, violence will be one of the end results. So I beg you, all of you, alright, please, when you read the news, watch any video, don't react, okay? Think carefully. Think carefully. Don't simply react. React. It takes time to think and do research. How many of you bothered to research this? Being a Muslim, how many of you research this? This is bad. And realize that your religion and you have been betrayed by your leaders. So with that, my dear fellow Malaysians, Muslim and non-Muslims, this is a fight we have to unite together. The elements within our society, within our country, right, who are consciously or unconsciously lapdogs, agent provocateurs, inciters, hate mongers of the Western imperial agenda. Unite or this country will be destroyed. That's a given, I'm telling you. This country will go down the tubes. All because one leader, or rather two, the last 70 years, all right, destroyed the very soul and heart of this country. And now we are on the downslide. I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry to say this. Matthias, how come you do that? There's a new government, new Malaysia, blah, blah, blah. Yes, rhetoric. You better know what I say. But I say because I love this country, I have no vested interest. I dare tell truth to power. And let's see whether I'm correct. Because the law of karma will come and be judged us. And judge us accordingly. With that, I hope all of you, having watched this video, will calmly, sincerely unite with me and put a stop to nonsense. This country will be torn to pieces. This is the Middle East will be torn to pieces. And don't you believe the rubbish? Islam is war. Islam is terrorism. It is only so by this Sunni, right, ISIS rubbish that's been exploited to serve the agenda of the Zionist Anglo-American powers. And therefore ends once again saying, surrender to Allah unconditionally. No conditions. Unconditionally. And have absolute faith that He will defend, protect, and guide us under all circumstances. You must have faith in the higher being, in the supreme being. Otherwise, like, you have nothing. The people in the Middle East have nothing. Because they were true to the Prophet and to Allah. They won't behave the way they behave and betrayed the entire region. And what happened with Medina? Okay. Mecca and Medina will be a small state just to cater to Muslims. Saudi Arabia, the so-called custodian of Mecca and Medina, reduced to a little tiny plot of real estate. What a joke. With that, I thank you for your patience and I bid you well in the coming weekend. Thank you and may God bless you all.